Hello, one and all, and glad you're with us. Sports Spectacular. We are the Illini guys. Larry Smith, Mike Kegley, Brad Sturdy. Glad you're with us. We got lots to talk about. Basketball is here. We'll break down the exhibition game at Ole Miss last week and look ahead to this week. The EIU Panthers come in Monday night, and we'll talk all about that. Matt Stevens joining us here in just a few minutes to talk about the Illini Minnesota game, break that down as well as we talk about the loss at Oregon. And in hour number two as well, we'll talk with a great insider from the Minnesota Golden Gophers and talk about their resurgence as well. We've got lots going on here on the show. First off, though, we want to talk about, let's tip of the cap to Janet Rayfield, Illini soccer with a big change coming. The program's all-time winningest coach announcing on Wednesday that she is going to retire. She will stay on until her successor comes on board. But Coach Rayfield, the team finishing 500 this season, just wrapped up their regular season. And Coach Rayfield, thanks again for 23 seasons here in Champaign.
Yeah, she's a soccer legend. I mean, she had multiple. Illinois was great, back in the early 2000s, fantastic soccer program. They've fallen on some hard times lately, and I think it's time for her to kind of step off and not tarnish her legacy, and move on and get some fresh blood in there. But this is a program that can be good. They've got a great facility, and kudos to her for what she's done. And let's move on.
Yeah, it's great to have that positive of a time at any major university. And if you're coaching a team for 23 years, that is so hard to do in this modern era. So kudos to her, and I hope she greatly enjoys her next steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Second to all of that, there's no question. So Illini soccer now looking for a new leader. Illini football looking to get back into the winning column after coming up short at Oregon last week, 38-9. Illinois now 24th in the country. So that streak of being ranked continues, the longest they've had, I think, since 2001 when they won the Big Ten. Want to get into Minnesota here in a minute, but let's kind of put a bow on the game out at Oregon. Look, I thought Matt Stevens, who we'll talk to here in a few minutes, said it well in one of his columns following the loss. This was a litmus test. Oregon has dudes. And the Illini would like more dudes like their dudes. They're a very talented team. That's why they're number one in the country.
They are. They're really good. They're better than Illinois. I mean, You can go through that roster and you'll find out of the 24 spots, Illinois' kicker might be better. Maybe their punter. I don't know. But no, there's not many spots where you would pick Illinois over Oregon. And so to win that game, you have to play perfect and you have to play flawless and everything has to be on point. And it's just not. If they're clicking, you're not going to beat them. They're better than Illinois. And that's like the litmus test. Like you said, that's what they know now. But here's the thing. They play 4 teams now coming up. They can beat. So go out and take care of business.
Yeah, but the only thing better is our coverage of Illinois football is probably better than anybody's coverage of Oregon. So other than that, I think there's probably no comparison. But I do think Illinois, this was an opportunity. It was great because they brought a plane load of boosters, and the boosters there could take a look backwards and see how far Illinois has traveled in Brett Bielema's 4 years. And they also could look forward towards the Oregon team, and they could also see the reality of how much further the trip needs to go.
Mike, I thought you said a plane load of booze, and I thought that explained a lot.
Yeah.
There for a second. I was like,
just a plane load of
load
boosters
of
who wish they had more booze.
I was like, what? Well, no wonder they lost.
But seriously, when you look at Oregon, they've got Phil Knight, and there's people out there who are Illinois grads, Silicon Valley and across the United States who have more money than Phil Knight does. And maybe one of those people will take a look at what Illinois has done and where they can go and say, I want to be a part of that. And the journey that Brett Bielema has taken this program on has been astounding, but we could see how good Oregon is, that the journey's not anywhere near being done. And that's where the opportunity is to get more NIL contributions, because if you want dudes, you got to break some eggs, and that's in the terms of NIL funds.
Yeah. Well, we know Oregon Athletics has benefited tremendously from Mr. Knight and his Nike dollars. There's no question. But I think, again, that football program is a great example. If you want to say we'd love to model ourselves after what they're doing, I don't think it's talked about enough because they're on the West Coast and out east. If you're east of the Rockies, you got some of the things that's distracting you. But of the last 30 seasons, Oregon has had only 2 losing seasons. I mean, they are a model of consistency. You can talk about Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State and Michigan and all that. You go through year after year, there's almost nobody more consistent than what Oregon has done. And so while Dan Lanning, give him credit for what he has done, there's a great foundation that's been laid for him by coaches that came before him. And so he's got a lot to work with out there, and they've become a national program and they recruit nationally. For Illinois now, like you mentioned, 4 games coming up, starting with Minnesota. And this is one where Illinois can really still 6-2. Okay, so your only 2 losses are the 2 teams in the top 5, right? I mean, Oregon and Penn State. But think about this. Only 4 times in Illinois history have they won 10 games in a season. Only 3 times have they won 9. So you have a chance to become only the 8th team in more than 100 years of Illinois football to win 9 or more games. I mean, it's right there in front of you. And I think that's, to me, I would put that up on the wall. If you want to really get a chance to make your mark on this program, it's right in front of you.
Larry, I'm not sure whether that's exciting or depressing. If you think about that, but no, they do.
I'm trying to hang the carrot out there to go chase after.
Yeah, it's like you can be one of 8 teams that didn't suck. So no, this is I really think that they do have an opportunity, and it's there, right? I mean, none of the games that they have remaining on their schedule are like a game you go, oh, we can't win that one, like Penn State and Oregon on the road were. These are 4 games, but you have to take them one game at a time, and you have to take care of business at home. You've got 2 home games against Minnesota. Minnesota's probably the best team they have left on their schedule. But Brett Bielema has, kind of owned PJ Fleck, let's be honest, and he's owned Minnesota. So maybe he's got there's a rabbit up his sleeve, and he's going to make sure that even with the injuries, they're ready to go and that they're able to get the win.
Yeah, this is a critical game because you'd really have that opportunity to break into double digits. And to even get that discussion in the CFP, whether you make it in or not, that gets the attraction and the attention of recruits, and that will pay off for the next couple of years. So I know that they don't have to go 4-0 down the stretch, but it would be magnificent for the Illinois program if they could.
Well, and you guys know me, I always go to optics, right? The TV and how things look. And I think that, to your point, if you go 10-2 and you had those marquee nights, the thriller, Friday night overtime game on Fox at Nebraska, and then you're at Penn State, you had back-to-back games on CBS, the 3:30 Eastern time slot. That's so, you've had all these really prime games, and you may still get one even down the road. Even there's still some talk of maybe even a CBS coming in. There's that Northwestern game coming up, but that's at Wrigley Field. It has some interest. You may get some attention there. So, and then you go 10-2, and you're putting guys in the NFL. You're getting guys national attention. I mean, Luke Altmaier this week was added to the Davey O'Brien award watch list. For a top quarterback in the country. 15 touchdowns, no touchdown passes last week, couple of picks, but only 3 interceptions the entire season. Xavier Scott becoming a semifinalist for the Jim Thorpe Award. We saw Devin Witherspoon be a Thorpe finalist 2 years ago before being, a number 5 pick overall to Seattle, right? So, and now he's a semifinalist, and we find out he may be. So you're getting those guys in the NFL, you're getting those names, and so you look at the recruits coming in, they see the stands full. We didn't have that before. You see wins on the scoreboard. You didn't have that before. You're seeing guys in the NFL. All of a sudden, like you said, the academics, it becomes much easier to recruit if you're Brett Bielema and his staff.
Yeah, and like we said, that's what they have to do. They have to recruit at a high level if you want to get to these points to where you're in this 8 to 10 win scenario every year, and you got to recruit well to get to that level. And that's the next step for Illinois.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there is a percentage of players at the higher levels that this has become a transactional game, and that's why you hear me say things like NIL. Because there are some that it comes down to the dollars, and if you want to win, you have to have difference makers. You can't have one Gabe Yakas. You need to have about 6, 7, 8 of him. And you look at Ohio State and Oregon, and they've got multiple players on their offense and defense that people have to pay attention to. And Illinois would like to get to that. Very similar to what Illinois has on their basketball program, where there's multiple players you have to pay attention to. And Brett Bielema's worked on that, and that's the goal that will raise the Illinois success on the field.
Yeah. So Illinois 24th in the AP poll, 6-2 now. Again, just the 2 tough losses on the road at 2 of the best teams in the entire country. And now Minnesota coming in, 11 a.m. kickoff. It's on FS1. And as they mentioned, it's the first of 4 games here in November. And that really could kind of determine, kind of how this program is looked at going into 2025. We'll talk more about football coming up with Matt Stevens here in just a few minutes after a commercial break. Want to get your thoughts very quickly on the Illini men's basketball team, talk about consistency. They fall 91-74 at Ole Miss in the lone exhibition game. But again, we talk about litmus tests and kind of comparing where you are. Look, Illinois last year won 29 games and reached the Elite Eight, but it's this year's Ole Miss team that's a very veteran team, had a lot of 1,000-point career scorers on this team. Only 20 wins last year. They missed the NCAA tournament because they didn't have the resume, but they really showed you what a physical veteran team will look like, and Illinois is going to see a lot of them this season.
Yeah, I think this is the kind of a wake-up call. I think you put it in practice, and they're playing against the same guys. They don't understand, how hard you have to play, how physical the game is until they get out there in this atmosphere. And now they know. And this is a wake-up call. It's a great teaching moment for Brad Underwood, and he can really use this in film study to make this team better very, very quickly.
Yeah, I would think his words and the coaching staff's tips, et cetera, will be listened to much more after this game.
Absolutely. And we've all been to coaches. So we've all been to the coaches' practices. They can get colorful if they don't do what coach. Brad's that fair? Colorful? Is that a good word to use?
That's a good answer. Yes.
Yeah, I can see Larry as a coach. They're like, oh my gosh, he's unbuttoning his vest. He's really upset.
When he takes his tie off, they all run.
He loosens his tie and people start the whole crowd would just get quiet.
Well, they know.
If I wore a tie, they would be scared.
Yeah, exactly. But we think Brad's drinking.
I don't know about you guys. My mother, may she rest in peace. When she threw out the curse words, there was one word in particular when she used as a kid, you knew, scatter, go take the trash out, do the dishes, clean your room. You better do it because Mama Bear is coming after you. For me, it's like when the tie comes off, right? Larry took off his tie. Be careful. So he means business. He's about to get ugly. All right. We'll leave it there. We had to get one in. It's been a couple of weeks since we got one in about the tie. All right. More on football coming up. Matt Stevens joining us here after a quick timeout to talk more about this matchup with the Gophers on Saturday. And then bottom of the hour, Kedrick Prince comes along. He's the director of recruiting for IlliniGuys.com. We'll talk more hoops as we count down to the big opener Monday night. The men taking on EIU. And next Thursday, it's the women facing Florida State. Just getting started here on this weekend. Glad you're with us. It's the Sports Spectacular, powered by IlliniGuys.com.